8 years ago, she walked away and called me a failure. Tonight, she has no idea who's walking through that door. There she is. Same laugh. Same smirk. She still thinks I'm the man she left behind.
Still the same old Daniel, she laughed. I bet he's still stuck at that dead-end job.
She expected me to shrink. Instead, I smiled Keeman, because she had no idea what I built.
We have a special guest!
Then the microphone crackled, and the room was about to learn the truth.
Her smirk disappeared. Just like that. I looked right at her. Not out of revenge, but so she'd finally see who I became. 8 years of silence taught me one thing: the Fed. The best comeback is one you never had to plan for revenge. This is the story of how I lost everything and built something no one could ever take away again.
If you've ever been told you'd never amount to anything by the one person who was supposed to believe in you the most, this story is for you. Stay with me until the end, because what happened at that reunion changed everything I thought I knew about second chances. And if stories like this move you, hit that like button and subscribe, because there's a lot more where this came from. My name is Daniel Reeves, and 8 years ago, my wife, Melissa, left me with 2 suitcases, a stack of unpaid bills, and a sentence I've never forgotten. You're never going to be anything, Daniel. I need a man who can actually provide. At the time, I was 34 years old, working nights as a warehouse supervisor, drowning in a failed startup that had eaten through our savings. She wasn't wrong about the money. She was wrong about me. We'd been high school sweethearts, the kind of couple everyone assumed would grow old together. We got married right after college, and for the first few years, things were good. But when my software company folded after an investor pulled out at the last minute, something in Melissa changed. She stopped looking at me like a partner and started looking at me like a liability. The divorce took 4 months. She got the house. I got a duffel bag and a used Honda Civic that barely started in the winter. I won't pretend those first 2 years afterward were anything but brutal. I slept on my brother's couch for 6 months. I ate ramen more nights than I'd like to admit. But somewhere in that wreckage, something in me refused to stay down. I remembered an idea I'd shelved years earlier, a supply chain logistics platform that could help small manufacturers compete with the giants. I'd mentioned it to Melissa once, and she'd laughed it off as another one of your pipe dreams. I started coding again at night after 12-hour warehouse shifts. I taught myself things I should have learned in college. I cold emailed 40 different investors before one, just one, replied. His name was Arthur Kwan, and he ran a small logistics firm in Denver. He didn't have millions to throw at me, but he had $15,000, and more importantly, he believed the idea had legs. That $15,000 became the seed of everything. The first 18 months were still hard. I lived paycheck to paycheck while building the platform, sleeping 4 hours a night, coding until my eyes blurred. But slowly, small manufacturing companies started signing on. Word spread. A regional trucking company adopted our system to cut delivery times. Then, a mid-size furniture manufacturer in Ohio. Within 3 years, we had over 400 businesses using our platform, and a private equity firm offered to buy 15% of the company for $12 million. I said no. Not out of arrogance, but because I finally understood something Melissa never did. Real value isn't built by selling out at the first sign of success. It's built by staying the course when no one else believes you can. 2 years later, a much larger acquisition offer came in from a Fortune 500 logistics conglomerate. This time, the number had 10 figures. When my lawyer read it out loud in that sterile conference room, I had to ask him to repeat it twice. By the time I turned 42, I was no longer Daniel Reeves, the warehouse supervisor. I was Daniel Reeves, founder and CEO of Meridian Logistics Solutions, a company valued at over $1.4 billion. I bought my brother a house. I funded a scholarship at my old community college for students who couldn't afford tuition. And through all of it, I never once reached out to Melissa, not out of bitterness, I genuinely wished her well. But because that chapter of my life had closed, and I wasn't interested in reopening it for validation. Then the invitation came. Our 20th high school reunion, hosted at the Grand Larkspur Hotel downtown. Half of me wanted to throw the envelope away. The other half, the part of me that still remembered being 19 years old and hopelessly in love with the girl who sat 2 rows ahead of me in AP history, wanted to see the old faces one more time. I decided to go quietly, without fanfare. I didn't RSVP with any company title. I didn't bring a +1. I just wanted to see old friends and maybe, finally, put the last piece of that old life to rest. Melissa was there, of course, still beautiful in the way she'd always been, now with a different last name, standing near the dessert table with a group of women I vaguely remembered from our senior class. The moment she saw me, her expression shifted, not into warmth, but into something closer to pity, mixed with satisfaction. She sauntered over with her wine glass in hand and said loud enough for the people near us to hear, "Wow, Daniel. Still wearing suits to reunions? Trying to impress someone? Or is that just what Men's Warehouse had on clearance?" A few people laughed nervously. I smiled and said nothing, because honestly, I'd stopped needing to prove anything to her a long time ago. But Melissa wasn't finished. She turned to her friends and said, "This is the guy I told you about, the one who thought his little computer company was going to make us rich. Look at him now." The laughter that followed stung less than it would have 8 years ago, but it still stung. Old wounds have a way of remembering their shape even after they've healed. I didn't say a word. I simply excused myself and walked toward the bar, where an old friend, Marcus, grabbed my shoulder with genuine warmth. "Daniel Reeves, I heard about Meridian. Man, that's incredible. You built one of the fastest growing logistics platforms in the country. My cousin works in shipping. He won't stop talking about your software." I asked him to keep it quiet, at least for tonight. I wasn't there to prove anything, but word travels fast at reunions, and within 20 minutes, a cluster of classmates had gathered around me, asking questions, congratulating me, treating me like the success I'd quietly become. The reunion committee, unaware of the tension, had invited a few notable alumni to say a few words on stage, and to my surprise, my name was called as one of them. I hadn't asked for it, hadn't wanted it, but I couldn't exactly refuse without drawing more attention. I walked up to that small stage with the string lights glowing above me, and as I looked out over the crowd, I saw Melissa's face freeze the moment the MC introduced me as founder and CEO of Meridian Logistics Solutions, valued at over $1 billion. I didn't gloat. I didn't look at her with triumph. Instead, I told the room the truth, that 8 years ago, I was working night shifts at a warehouse, sleeping on my brother's couch, and rebuilding my life one line of code at a time after my marriage ended. I told them that the hardest year of my life taught me the most valuable lesson I've ever learned, that people will judge you by where you are, not by where you're capable of going, and that the only person who gets to decide your worth is you. I could see Melissa near the back, her wine glass now completely forgotten on the table, her face pale under the string lights. I didn't need her to apologize. I didn't need her to feel small the way she'd tried to make me feel. I just needed her, and everyone else in that room, to understand that the version of me she walked away from was never the whole story. After the applause died down, I stepped off the stage, and for the first time all evening, Melissa approached me alone, without her friends, without the smirk. "I didn't know," she said quietly. "I'm sorry for what I said earlier." I told her it was okay, because it genuinely was. Holding on to anger toward her would have meant giving her power over a part of my life she no longer belonged to. I wished her well, meant it, and walked away to rejoin my old friends, lighter than I'd felt in years. Driving home that night, I didn't feel vindicated the way I thought I might. I felt free. Free from needing her validation, free from the story she'd once told about who I was, free to simply exist as the man I'd built myself into, brick by brick, sleepless night by sleepless night. Success, I realized, was never really about the number in my bank account. It was about no longer flinching when someone tried to tell me who I was. If there's one thing I hope you take from my story, it's this. The people who doubt you the loudest are often just measuring you against the smallest version of yourself they ever knew. They're not wrong about who you were. They're just wrong about who you're capable of becoming. Whatever room you're standing in right now, whatever version of not enough someone convinced you to believe, you still have time to walk out of it and build something they never saw coming. Thank you for watching this story until the end. If it meant something to you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment telling me about a time someone doubted you and what you did about it. See you in the next story.